You go on this run of Brazilian champions that you're beating, Lyoto, Vitor, and then we get to the fight with Luke Rockhold, right? It was very easy. It was very easy to see that you two were on a collision course to fight each other. The fight was going very well early, and then he starts to work his way back into the fight. And then you do that spinning kick. Do you think about that? Like, do you think about, like, what if I did not do that in that moment? And what prompted you to do that in that moment when you're fatigued and you can't really do it at the rate or the speed that you normally would?
You know, it's not excuses. It's just I was on my way to lose. I was on my way to losing at some point, whether it was Luke or someone else, very soon.
In your career,
even before,
Why?
Even Vitor fight. Like because I started. Well, the injury started really turning up on me. You know, I started having. You know, I was on my way to get into 30 surgeries. You know, where I'm at now, but they just started piling up. My knees were jacked up.
I'm going to be the hardest working guy in the room started to really become a negative.
Yes, so I had to start changing things. Now I'm made money, right? I'm going out to expensive dinners. I hadn't had a ribeye until I was probably 27 years old. You know, I never went to an expensive restaurant in my life. All of a sudden I had money. You were doing all these different things. You know, I had sponsors. So you had that aspect of it where I was that hungry kid living in my parents' basement that was on. My goal was to provide for my family and become a world champion. So now I already have that. I defended my belt twice against Anderson. Beat Anderson, then defended against Anderson, then Lyoto Machida. Now I'm going against Vitor Belfort. I got injured before that fight, and then they rebook it for a couple, months later, and I was starting to get a lot of backlash for being having injuries and having to push out of fights and stuff. And so I decided to do shorter camps. I was like, instead of doing a 10-week camp, I'm going to do a 6-week camp. I just started doing less. I started doing less work, think it's less chance of getting injured. But then I would still get injured in a fight. I would still get injured in training camp. And then there was no time to take care of my body. It was just I had to keep grinding and pushing through it. And the injuries just started adding up. Going into the Vitor fight, that was the beginning of my demise because I won that fight the first round doing a 6-week training camp. And I wasn't training like I used to at all. And
why do you think fighters struggle so much when they get everything that they aspire to get, the money, the fame, the freedom, the comfortable life? Why do you think fighters struggle so much when you get everything that you intended to get and more?
I had a hard time. So after I beat Anderson the first time, I knew I was going to have to rematch him no matter what, like even before the fight. So I had that as my goal. Lyoto Machida fight, I wasn't getting the credit. People, his leg broke. They thought it was a freak knockout in the first fight. I still wasn't getting the credit as a UFC champion, and it was pissing me off. So I was like, I got to dominate Lyoto Machida. So I was very well prepared for that fight. Then I got a lot of credit. Like people were like, oh, this he's good. And I accomplished my goal. I became a world champion. I defended a couple, at that time, twice. And I was, now it's just like, all right, I'm just going to keep trying to stay undefeated and not lose anymore, just keep trying to win belts. It wasn't as much of a goal that I was hungry for like it was in the beginning.
Yeah.
I wasn't like as obsessed,
To be the world champ.
Yeah, I did it. I won my national championship. I won my Olympic gold. I won, all the things I didn't think I could do.
You let go of that chip a little bit.
The chip on my shoulder started
to fall off. Yeah.
And so then going into the Luke Rockhold fight, I knew he was I was back into that old Chris, that old choke artist Chris, because I wasn't working as hard as everybody anymore. And so I was doubting myself. And instead of fighting those doubts out, I was like, it doesn't matter what I think now. All that matters is when I get into the octagon. So I'm not fighting those thoughts every day. And I think eventually it just kind of caught up to me. And, Luke was the better fighter that night. I thought we both looked like crap. I honestly think we both fought terrible that night.
After that, it was very difficult to regain and reclaim that championship level. Why? Why was it so hard to? Because again, that thing that you chased, that you had coveted and you had gotten to, it was gone now. Could you not recapture that want for it, or were the injuries so bad that you were like, man, I no matter what I do, right? Because you should when you recognize I did a 6-week camp this time, I should go back to doing 12. Did you do that? And if you didn't, how did you really expect it to change?
Yeah, I wasn't. I was.
Or did it matter?
I wasn't thinking like I'm thinking now. I was thinking. I got in. So with the Luke Rockhold fight, in my head, the reason why I lost is because I did a 6-week training camp, but in the first week I broke my foot on Volante's elbow, right? So now I couldn't do the cardio and the footwork and all that stuff like I wanted to. So I blamed it on that. But it was more than that. It was a lot more than that. It was so much deeper with all the things we're talking about, like the just mentally being confident comes from hard work. I need to really grind and feel like I'm working harder than everybody else for me to truly be confident, and I wasn't doing that anymore. And then on top of that, the injuries, man, I had a lot of bad injuries that are a problem.
You go into the next fight and you obviously lose and you walk away. You have this idea that you're going to box or do something different. The GFL thing comes up. It doesn't work out. You still haven't gotten any of those boxing things that you talked about prior. Is that still something you want to do? Because generally, you still work for the UFC, right? I'm pretty sure you could have stayed in the UFC. I don't know, were they going to cut you, or did you ask for a release?
I think they were pretty much. I think they were pretty much done with me. I think I could have probably got one more fight if I really wanted to. I could have pushed for it, but was I 41? I was 41, I think, when it was. Yeah, it was this year. Jeez. Yeah, it was like 40, 41. I guess it was. My birthday's June, so it was right before that. Are they? Who am I going against? What am I doing? Who am I fighting to beat, and for what reason? It made no sense.
So are you done? Because you signed up for the GFL, right? The game doesn't generally let us choose when we're done. It says to us, we don't really have a need for you anymore.
Yeah.
Are you done, Chris, or do you still have a desire to fight?
I'm done with MMA. My knees just can't bend anymore like they used to. I can't be in those type of scrambles. Jiu-jitsu wise, I'll do some jiu-jitsu tournaments and stuff like that. And boxing match against a big name, history that I have, somebody I have history with, older guys, like myself. Yeah, I like boxing. I wouldn't mind doing a pro boxing match. I'm staying in shape. I'm working out at least 5 times a week. I told you every day, but it's more like 5 times a week, But
yeah.
I'm staying healthy, and we'll see if something comes.